Marcus never planned to live with a woman he barely knew. At 29, his life had already narrowed into survival. Wake up, work construction 12 hours a day, come home exhausted, microwave dinner, sleep, repeat. After his breakup with Claire 2 years earlier, silence had become the only thing waiting for him at home. At first he hated it. Then he got used to it. Eventually he convinced himself he preferred it. But rent in Chicago had become impossible after the company cut overtime hours. His savings disappeared faster than pride. So when his friend Daniel mentioned a roommate opening in an old, brownstone apartment downtown, Marcus swallowed his dignity and agreed before even seeing the place. "You'll like her," Daniel said while helping him load boxes into his truck. "She's chill. Keeps to herself mostly." "Her?" "Relax," Daniel laughed. "You sound like you're 12. Marcus wasn't worried about living with a woman. He was worried about feeling something again. The apartment belonged to Lily Harper. The first thing Marcus noticed about her wasn't her beauty, though she had plenty of it. It was the way she looked directly into people when they spoke, like she genuinely wanted to understand them. Most people listened just long enough to respond. Lily listened like words mattered. She opened the apartment door wearing oversized gray sweats. Her dark hair tied into a messy bun, paint smudged across one wrist. "You must be Marcus." "Yeah." She stepped aside with a small smile. "Come in. Sorry about the mess. I'm working on a project." The apartment looked alive. Canvases leaned against walls. Vinyl records sat stacked beside a record player. Soft jazz floated from hidden speakers. The entire place smelled faintly of coffee and vanilla candles. It didn't feel like an apartment. It felt like someone still believed life could be beautiful. "You paint?" Marcus asked quietly. Lily glanced toward the canvases. "That obvious?" "Little bit." She smiled. "You hungry?" "No, I'm good." "Okay, well." She tucked hair behind her ear awkwardly. "Anything you want, just ask." Simple words, normal words, but something about the way she said them stayed with him. "Anything you want." The first few weeks were surprisingly easy. Lily respected space. Marcus respected silence. She worked from home as a freelance illustrator while Marcus left before sunrise each morning. Sometimes he'd return to find music drifting through the apartment, and Lily curled on the couch, sketching with her headphones on. Other nights she'd already be asleep. Still, little things slowly changed the apartment from shared space into something dangerously close to comfort. She started making extra coffee because she noticed Marcus always forgot breakfast. He fixed the flickering kitchen light she'd complained about for months. She learned he hated thunderstorms. He learned she cried during documentaries about animals. They fell into rhythms without discussing them. Friday takeout, Sunday grocery trips, late-night conversations in the kitchen when neither of them could sleep. One night, after too much cheap wine and laughter, Lily looked at him from across the couch and said softly, "You know, you're not nearly as intimidating as you pretend to be." Marcus smirked. "I'm intimidating?" "At first?" "Absolutely." "Why?" "You looked sad." The answer hit harder than he expected, because she was right. He looked away. "Sorry to disappoint." "You didn't." Silence settled between them. Not awkward silence, the dangerous kind, the kind that notices breathing. After that, Marcus started catching himself thinking about her at work. The way her nose scrunched when she laughed. The way she sang quietly while cooking. The way she always pretended she wasn't cold, so he'd keep the thermostat where he liked it. And worst of all, the way being near her made loneliness feel temporary. That terrified him, because temporary things leave. Claire taught him that. His mother taught him that before her. Everyone eventually became a memory. So Marcus did what he always did when emotions got too close. He pulled away. He stopped lingering in the kitchen, stopped watching movies with her, stopped asking about her day. Lily noticed immediately. Women always notice. One evening she found him sitting alone on the fire, escape outside his bedroom window, staring at the city lights. "You've been avoiding me." Straight to the point. Marcus sighed. "Been busy." "That's not true." He didn't answer. Lily leaned against the window frame. "Did I do something?" "No." "Then what happened?" The concern in her voice made it worse somehow, because he wanted to tell her the truth, that every second near her felt like standing too close to fire. Instead, he shrugged. Nothing happened. She studied him for several seconds. "You know what your problem is?" Marcus almost laughed. "Which one?" "You think shutting people out protects you." "It does." "No," she said gently, "it just guarantees you'll be alone." Her words stayed with him long after she walked away. 3 days later, Marcus came home early after rain shut down the construction site. The apartment was quiet except for soft music playing from Lily's room. As he passed her partially open door, he noticed her sitting on the floor beside her bed crying. Not dramatic crying, silent crying. The kind people do when they think nobody sees them. Marcus froze. Part of him wanted to keep walking. Privacy mattered, but another part remembered every lonely night he spent wishing someone would ask if he was okay. He knocked softly. Lily startled, quickly wiping her face. "Hey, you all right?" "Yeah." The lie hung there weakly. Marcus stepped inside cautiously. "What happened?" She laughed bitterly. "You ever get tired of not being enough for people?" He frowned. "Who said that?" "My ex." She wrapped her arms around herself tightly. "Called earlier." Marcus felt immediate anger toward a man he'd never met. "What did he say?" "That he's engaged." Her voice cracked slightly, and apparently he wanted me to hear it from him before social media. "That's cruel." "I think the cruel part is—" She swallowed hard. A tiny part of me still hoped he'd come back. Marcus sat carefully beside her on the floor. For a while neither spoke. Rain tapped softly against the windows. Finally Lily whispered, "Do you know what's embarrassing?" "What?" "I loved him so much I forgot to love myself." Marcus looked at her then, really looked at her, at the pain hidden behind her strength, at the loneliness she disguised with kindness, and suddenly he realized something terrifying. He didn't just care about Lily. He was already falling in love with her. That night changed everything. Walls disappeared slowly after that. Marcus began staying up late talking with her again. Lily started sitting closer during movies. Sometimes their hands brushed accidentally. Sometimes maybe not accidentally. Neither acknowledged it, until the night everything finally cracked open. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday. They were eating Chinese takeout straight from the containers while an old sitcom played in the background. Lily had one leg folded beneath her on the couch. Marcus sat beside her close enough to feel warmth from her shoulder. "Comfortable. Too comfortable. You ever think about getting married?" she asked suddenly. Marcus nearly choked on noodles. That came out of nowhere. She laughed. "It's a conversation, relax. I don't—" "No," he admitted. "Used to think I would." "And now?" He glanced at her carefully. "Now I think most people leave eventually." Lily grew quiet. "That's sad." "It's realistic." She studied him for a moment before speaking softly. "You know what I think?" "What?" "I think you want someone to prove you wrong." The room suddenly felt smaller. Marcus set down his food slowly. "You always analyze people this much?" "Only the ones I care about." There it was. Not a confession, but close enough to make his pulse stumble. Neither looked away. The sitcom laughter echoed awkwardly in the background, while tension thickened between them. Lily smiled nervously. "Sorry, that sounded intense." "It's okay." Then she said the sentence that changed everything. "Anything you want, Marcus." "You can ask me." His chest tightened instantly, because this time those words didn't sound casual. They sounded vulnerable, dangerously vulnerable. He should have ignored it, should have changed the subject. Instead, he heard himself ask quietly, "What if I want more than this?" Lily stopped breathing for a second. "So do I," she whispered. The silence afterward felt electric. Marcus's heart pounded hard enough to hurt. "Lily." She moved first, slowly, carefully, like she was terrified he might disappear if she moved too fast. Her fingers touched his hand, warm, shaking slightly. "I'm scared," she admitted softly. "Me too. You could break my heart. You could break mine." For the first time in years, Marcus allowed himself to stay instead of running. He lifted his hand to her face gently. Lily leaned into his touch with her eyes closed, like she'd wanted it longer than either of them realized. Then he kissed her. Soft at first, careful. But the second she kissed him back, something inside him unraveled completely. Every lonely year, every sleepless night, every fear, gone. Because suddenly he understood the difference between being wanted and being chosen, and Lily was choosing him. When they finally pulled apart, she rested her forehead against his. "You have no idea how long I've wanted that." Marcus laughed quietly. "You hid it well. No, you were just oblivious." For the first time in years, happiness felt real instead of temporary. But real things are fragile. 2 months later, Claire came back. Marcus opened the apartment door one snowy evening to find his ex standing in the hallway holding tears in her eyes. "I made a mistake," she said immediately. The words he once dreamed about, hearing, but now they felt strangely empty. Claire talked for nearly 20 minutes. About regret, about memories, about wanting another chance, and part of Marcus hated himself for the small flicker of old emotion. Her presence still stirred. Not love, just history. But Lily saw Claire leaving the apartment. And history looks dangerous when viewed from the outside. That night, Lily barely spoke. The next morning, she avoided eye contact entirely. Finally, Marcus cornered her gently in the kitchen. "Talk to me." "She's beautiful," Lily said quietly. "What?" "Your ex." Marcus blinked. "Okay. And she knows you in ways I don't." "Lily, what if you realize you still love her?" The fear in her voice shattered him, because suddenly he understood. Lily wasn't afraid of losing an argument. She was afraid of losing him. Marcus stepped closer. "I need you to hear me carefully." She looked up slowly. "When Claire left me, I thought losing her destroyed my life." Lily stayed silent. "But meeting you made me realize something." "What?" "You can mourn someone and still not belong with them anymore." Her eyes filled instantly. Marcus touched her face gently. "You are not second place to me." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I've never had someone stay," she whispered. The sentence hit him harder than anything else she'd ever said, because underneath her warmth and laughter and kindness, she was scared too. Scared of abandonment, scared of not being enough. Just like him. Marcus wrapped his arms around her tightly. "I'm here." Lily broke then, not loudly, not dramatically. She just held on to him like someone exhausted from carrying fear alone for too long. Months later, on a humid summer night, Marcus sat beside Lily on the apartment fire, watching city lights flicker below them. She rested against his shoulder sleepily. "You know what's weird?" she murmured. "What?" "The day you moved in, I told myself not to fall for you." Marcus smiled. "Smart plan." "I failed immediately." He laughed softly. Then Lily looked at him with that same vulnerable honesty that first destroyed his defenses. "Do you ever regret asking for more?" Marcus looked at her for a long moment. At the woman who turned an apartment into a home. At the woman who taught him vulnerability wasn't weakness. At the woman who made staying feel less frightening than leaving. Then he kissed her forehead gently. Not for a second.